The International Court of Justice is a court that was created to solve problems of disputes of any nature. But this court was created on the basis that times could change and the constitutionalism and the mandate could also change. The International Court of Justice has never changed. In this court, there is no chamber for appeal. There is no chamber for amicus curiae, for people to bring in their opinions in terms of individuals or organizations that are hurt in one way or the other, or good opinions that could shape the outcome of the findings or the cases filed there. This court, therefore, remains one of the most obnoxious, one of the most opaque institutions whose findings we don't know who decides and how the decisions are taken, how stakeholders are supposed to recourse to a remedy, where to get a remedy, we don't know. A court has no chambers, no lower chamber, no upper chamber for appeal. It has itself as a final court of jurisdiction around the world. Are the people of the world going to say, is Somalia and Kenya going into this court, seeing the obstacles that they will cause for the region? Those are the questions I ask. And I want my viewers and those listening to this tape to understand that Africa needs to solve the problem in an African way. There is no other way to solve the problem of Somalia and Kenya amicably than sitting on a table to have a discussion, find ways of resolving the conflict that has brought us to not talking terms. But Somalia seemed to be pushed by external darker forces to go and dismember the unity that we have in the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. ICJ as a court is an institution that is very opaque, very dark in its sense of darkness, that you don't know how decisions are made. There is no counter checks and balances in the decision making. I therefore urge Somalia and Kenya not to attend this court. I urge Somalia and Kenya to avoid this court for the sake of peace in the Indian Ocean. I also call upon the countries that are supporting Somalia to take this case, to withdraw their support for the sake of security, because we have only one common enemy. The enemy are the terrorists killing the innocent Somalis who need our help to be liberated from these fighters who have come and gathered in the great once country, or the PAL, one of the Pan-African countries in Africa. Thank you very much, viewers. That is my message to the world. Let's spread it. The International Court of Justice is opaque. It doesn't have appeal chamber. It doesn't have preparation chamber. It doesn't have any. Once the decision is made, the decision is final. Do we need that? We call that democratic. I leave it to you. Thank you. Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television. This is the Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from the general headquarters in Nairobi. And this is Punchline Television, also in the political command center in London. Thank you very much, all of you, the panel who are on this panel this morning. Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, all of you, from Professor Onyari, Javani Karanja, Musa Abidi Haji, Douglas Bidi, Samuel Tawish, Tom Mogaki, and Musa again. Thank you very much. Good morning. First of all, this show is special. It's a special show where we shall first listen to the facts. As you are aware, the International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice has taken a decision to go ahead under Article 53 of the statute, which is very clear that they can go ahead, but they have forgotten Article 40, which is consent. The most important thing is consent. Marriage by consent, court by consent first. So Kenya pulled out yesterday, and it has allowed, they can go ahead. There was no need of Kenya again asking to put anything across to them. Let them make a decision. I want to remind you people who have studied international law that ICJ decisions are not binding. They are not binding. They are not enforceable. They don't have an army to enforce the boundary. Kenya can as well remain where they are, fish where they are, and stay where they are. But because of we being neighbors for a long time, being Africans, we need to sort this mess and come back and work like the Africans. Summary of events are the following. And as I talk, I believe the production room will bring the slide. Summary of events. This is something that has annoyed everybody watching the Kenya case. One, the court's exercise over Kenya's case is against its consent. There was no consent for Somalia, and that is the hinging point. That's the point I have been saying and making every time before we reached where we have reached. That is the point that I wrote. I said this court did not consent. There was no need of Kenya being dragged in a case where they were not consulted and they did not consent. Two, it is regrettable that Kenya has been dragged to the court by an ungrateful neighbor, motivated by an expansionist agenda. Three, the presence of a judge, after I complained for him to be removed as a presiding judge, the UN and other technocrats said they would take him down, again remain in the statute, because they claimed there was no big number of, some judges did not take up the appointment. So why did they refuse to retain Mr. Yusuf Abdakwi Ahmed, who was a relative of Farimajo, born in Somalia, himself took part in the same conference of the United Nations, representing Somalia. He can't be the judge, he cannot be on the panel, should not be on the panel. C, the presence of that Somali judge as part of the bench is itself a bias against Kenya. From day one, Kenya has not had any fair opportunity to prepare its hearings. Hearing via video is unsuited for an African country for the presentation of the Kenyan case. The judges also assumed that everybody was in Europe. They didn't know that they are dragging two African countries where their audience is in Africa. So what are the key issues here? The key issues that we want to tackle today. One, jurisdiction. The court one cardinal thing that runs down the court, as you are seeing on the screen. I will not read each and everything. It is coming on the screen for you. This court works on one pillar consent. And I want the panel to understand, if that consent is not there, if I did not say, okay, my wife, let's consent and I will go to court for divorce. That's how it works. The laws have been changed. I'm not beating you, I'm not fighting you, but I am saying, before we separate our ways and I give you your property and you take mine, let's consent. Let's see what is it that is making us quarrel. Somalia did not follow that. The court did not look at that because there was a Somali judge who was hurrying the case, who was telling them, bring it, I am still here, I will make it work through. There was a memorandum which was overlooked. Those are key points you people must mark. Memorandum was overlooked, which had already resolved and which could resolve this maritime boundary. Kenya went back to the court to raise objections, to say some of these things have not consented with us. We have a memorandum. The then presiding judge, Judge Yusuf Abdalakwi Ahmed, a cousin to Farimajo, the father of Abdalakwi, if you can see from the clans of Somalia, is the clan leader, one of the clan leaders who is advising Farimajo. So there we are. We have a problem there. An advisor to Farimajo, the son is the chief presiding judge at that time. Kenya went back and opposed that why should we be dragged here? Why don't you give us time to go back? B, that was A. Section B, an ungrateful neighbor moved by the policy of expansionism. An ungrateful neighbor moved by the policy of expansionism, planted in by external forces. This is a point we have hammered for a long time. In 1963, Musa Abdi Haji Dido will tell you the history of what happened. Colonial boundaries were the center of wars, and the Somalia waged a war for a greater Somalia. It resulted into a catastrophic shifter war. That is not Kenya, that's Somalia trying to expand. In the late 1970s, up to 1980s, Somalia came down and put down territories, marked a great Somalia, and refused, abandoned the pursuit of a greater Somalia. The word here to mark is greater Somalia. At that time, Somalia did not protest about the maritime boundary. Never. If they have any record, send it to me. In the meantime, Kenya, good relationship with Somalia at a great cost of having hosted over 1 million refugees, including some who are now prime ministers, who have been former prime ministers, presidents, they all came through Kenya. Nairobi has been the hub of all this center of operation for the engine of Somalia, and a grateful neighbor. The people of Kenya, the Musa Abdi Haji Garumadido of Kenya, feel betrayed because they sacrifice their taxes, which later on ended up being insulted and even told names on social media on how Kenya is a very stupid and hopeless country. Indeed, you had one of the judge, the Anthony's, saying the case of Kenya is hopeless. So in public, he said that. What about in private? He must say, the people of Kenya are hopeless. So the people of Kenya feel betrayed. Let's come to this judge. See, Judge Yusuf Abdullah Ahmed, a Somali national, a corrupt official, a man who works with Qatar and Turkey to deny Kenya its territory. The deliberations that people want Kenya to be involved in are based on the rulings of Yusuf Ahmed Kui, who was the presiding judge. Now, do you proceed with such proceedings, as you can see from the clip on the screen? Time and time again, the international community, activists, complaints have been sent to the registry of the International Court of Justice. They recorded them, they tell us we have received them, they don't give us the results, they don't write back, they only say judge will retire much earlier before that, only to sit down and calculate when Corona came, the judge was brought back. While we are treating Corona, they brought back this stupid Somali judge who's seated there today wanting to hammer, sentence Kenya and remove its territory. D, no opportunity to prepare the case. As all of you know, contrary to what happened in ICC, I petitioned the International Criminal Court not to go ahead to select the chief prosecutor. They agreed. The ASP agreed not to do so. They pushed it from November, December, January, from June. We said, correct the list. The ICC has a representation. You know why this court is very bad? And I want you Kenyans to know why it is very bad. This court is very bad because this court has no any other advisor. Nobody can file an amicus curiae into the court because it's only the states, African country or head or states, nations that can file a case in that court. How can you be in a place? What they make a decision is final. Kenya was not able to engage, to talk to its lawyers. They had to get a new set of lawyers with COVID restrictions. Kenya has got quite a number of witnesses, key witnesses, to fly into The Hague. They have not been given visas. Restrictions have been put on the visas. Restrictions have been put on the meeting place. How many people you should put? A court of that nature cannot deliver justice. The ability to gather additional relevant material that Somalia has brought on board, which they don't have, was not available. The conditions under COVID-19 are very difficult for any international, meaningful event to take place, including elections in Kenya. In Kenya, elections will be there in 2022. In Senegal, you have seen in DRC, you have seen in Uganda, you have seen in Tanzania, you have seen all these countries that have held elections under COVID-19. It has become a turmoil. The pandemic conditions, therefore, any court should look at what the country is saying about. You can read those things slowly as they come. But the pandemic has delivered Kenya to an extreme that Somalia itself, if you look at the figures of COVID-19 patients in Somalia, I don't know which country is this, which wants to go and fight for oil, for mercantile capitalism, and forgets its own people. I don't know which type of court is this. This court, I have told you one thing, a court that does not have assessors, that does not have amicus curiae, that does not have people who tell them that, hello, this is not jury. It has no jury. It is a jury to itself. It is a jury to its. All judges are jury to themselves. That is not a court that we can think about. Therefore, Kenya was right to say we need time under COVID conditions. Again, if we move further, the type of politics that has been planted by external ingredients, namely Qatar, Norway, France, Turkey, to a certain extent now America. Why are they coming in for this? Because there's cheap oil to be got. If you give a judgment to Somalia, you will pick this oil very easily. Somalis. So the Somali people and the Kenyan people must understand that this agenda is not their agenda. This agenda, and I submit that this agenda will be, and this material is going to be printed for you viewers, those who want to be on Punchline Africa, who read our website. We are going to print that material for you, and it will be there. I therefore submit that the agenda that Somalia and Kenya are fighting for is not their agenda. The agenda is to deny Kenya. The agenda is to pay back Kenya for having failed to work on a number of things of giving Total oil, concessions of oil. The agenda, Qatar is an exporter of terrorism. It has exported terrorism in Mozambique. It has exported terrorism today in Somalia. Turkey is guarding every businessman who arrives in the ports of Kismayo. We have evidence, intelligence evidence. Turkish have dug deep into the Somali border politics. We have lost the brotherhood that we used to have. Do we go? Kenya has done a great job to withdraw. Before I leave, and I leave the panel, and I sit and I wait for any other correspondences or questions coming from Miriam, who is going to bring up the topic to ask the panel, I want to say one thing. East or west, north or south, we have one route left. And that route is under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Security Council. The judges get instructions from UN. They get salaries from UN. If you want a war, let it go ahead with the case. The war will be there. It's not a threat. It's not a threat. If they rule in favor of Somalia or Kenya, there will be a war. That is the truth. And let the world be told. The people who are criticizing Kenya are the people who want to be beneficiaries of hijack of ships in the sea. Those are the people that we must watch out. Those are the people we must weed out. Those are the people we must condemn. They built houses, built tall buildings out of the blood that will spill in the Indian Ocean. How many mercenaries are having huge chunks of money as a result of Libya collapsing? Look at Libya. 7 years ago, I wrote a letter crying tears that don't implement resolution 1970. South Africa went and endorsed that resolution. Look at what we have gone and how we have gone. Believe me or not, if you think I'm wrong, you are yet to see the worst if this case is brought before the court as it is going and allowed in the judgment, although not binding. Don't forget that. There must be consent. The key factors. Kenya did not consent. The best thing Somalia can do is to return. The hinge point, the fulcrum of international law is consent. That's it. And a lawyer arguing whether you have got 2,000 degrees, if you don't mention, if you overlook the word consent, that if I want to divorce, we have to consent. If I have not beaten you, we have to consent. If we have not injured you, we have to consent. If we have children, we have to consent. Both children need us parents. There is a consent where we can meet that both parents must see. Africa is one. Somalia is a brother. Kenya is a sister. Or Somalia or Kenya is a brother, and Somalia is a sister. They are sister nations of Africa. Why didn't they look for consent that would have brought peace and tranquility in the region? I therefore submit to the panel that is a detailed, and you will find it on our website, Punchline Africa Television, shining there. You can read and take the facts. And for us, and I want to tell the world, you can never win a war without activism. Never. No war has been won without activism. Show me one. Show me one. When Hitler wanted to kill people, he first publicized how bad the Jews are. What did he use? Publicity. Activism. Where have we ended? International law hinges on two factors: activism and lobbying. The Kenya government should do activism and lobbying. Many people should read this. More and more statements. Let's publish more. Let there be groups in Kenya to stand up. I am very, very happy with the group in Lamu to stand up to say, how do you decide our fishing ground without us being there? What has killed our country, our countries in Africa? You don't know how to lobby. Britain itself lobbies. It has a lobby group. America has a lobby groups. They also manufacture lobbies, but they also lobby. If you want to get a loan from China, there are people who know Chinese, who are Americans, but they know a lot of Chinese. They speak Chinese, and they lobby. They make the money. They bring the money. That is the cardinal point of any of you who would like to come as an activist, an international activist, who want to work with international, clash with international agencies that have killed Africa. I submit, therefore, Kenya has done a great job to disengage, and that there was no need for the Attorney General to seek even 1 minute to talk to them. There was no need. Let's meet uko mbele. Mbele ndio wapi? UN. Mbele ndio wapi? UN. Mwachana na koti hii. Hii koti iko na azimu. Iko na azimu. There is azimu moja, that stupid corrupt Yusuf Ahmed. A very bad, he has tainted the case. How will you win this case when he is going to write a judgment? How? How? When he has got money from Soma Oil, who bought the Soma Oil? Who is Soma Oil? Who is a beneficiary? Don't you have a clip? Production, bring that clip. How, when later on, how Soma Oil, how a dubious deal ended up paying a terrorist to come and kill British nationals. There is a case. And the people should not think there is no case. Mr. Hassan Hari, you took money from Soma Oil. We want an expenditure. How did you spend this money? Whom did you pay this money? As a Norwegian national, did you pay this money to terrorists who have killed people? That's an international war. You can finish your Somalia thing. We are fighting international war. I am being quoted in all Somali newspapers you saw this morning. That's okay, fine. I stand for it. But what will you do? What? Some of you, we know, I filled your forms before you become what you are. So you can hate me, but I'm telling you the truth. Some of these people have connived to bring a war between Somalia and Kenya. Norway is one of the countries. I submit.
All right. Thank you so much. There now for our viewers who might not know what is happening. Hearing over the Kenya-Somali sea border dispute at the International Court of Justice began yesterday despite Kenya's absence. The case started with oral argument by Somalia's government legal team, and the ICJ has said it regrets the decision of Kenya not to participate but ruled to continue the hearing without the country's involvement. We know Somalia brought the case in 2014, saying the maritime frontier should allow on in the same direction as the land border. And as Doctor has highlighted a couple of issues there that Kenya government has a problem with, about 5 issues. And the first one has to do with the jurisdiction. The next one is ungrateful neighbor. And of course, the conflict of interest of having a Somali judge as part of the judges there, and also Kenya saying that it did not have an opportunity to prepare adequately. And also the last issue, Kenya has a problem with this hearing being done via link, because they're saying they have evidence that needs to be presented in certain ways, and so doing that via video link will not really give the whole essence of that hearing. That might bring some impediment there. So let's just start with the first issue there that Doctor raised about the court's exercise of jurisdiction over Kenya. In this case is against Kenya's consent, and I think Doctor really has expounded on that. So now we know in this case Kenya and Somalia had entered into a memorandum of understanding in 2009 to resolve issues around the maritime boundary. Yet, when Kenya raised preliminary objections on this basis, the court dismissed the same, thereby violating the long-established principle of international law that jurisdiction over states is based on consent. And also, the court's jurisdiction over states is based on consent, and we will keep repeating that because I think it's very important in this case. And in giving its consent in 1963 to the court's jurisdiction over it, Kenya was clear that such consent shall not extend to disputes over which the parties to the dispute have agreed to other methods of resolution. So Kenya is saying we already agreed with Somalia in 2009. There is an agreement that we will find a way to solve this case before it is taken to the court. This is something that Kenya and Somalia signed in 2009. So that is where Kenya is saying, so now we did not consent to go to this court. I'll start with you, Professor Jared Onyari. There is a written agreement between Kenya and Somalia on an alternative dispute of this case.
I think Jared Onyari popped out. There is Tawish.
All right.
Jared Onyari is out. I can see from the screen.
All right, very well. So we have a guest panelist today, Tawish, Samuel Tawish. So what do you make of this argument by Kenya?
Oh, very well. Thank you so much, Miriam, Dr. Masanga, and the rest of the panelists from wherever you tune in. Indeed, it's a great topic we are handling this afternoon. Looking into the situation at the International Court of Justice, that is ICJ at the Netherlands. Basically, I support Kenya's position not to participate in these proceedings because of what exactly you highlighted when you began this program, that there are a lot of issues or a lot of matters that have not been agreed upon or that have been violated in terms of how this matter should have been handled in the first place. Dr. Masanga has come out explicitly to tell us that there's an aspect about Article 35 that forms that particular code that gives consent to the participating countries or to the respective countries to agree before proceeding into this particular court. But you see, that has not been actually respected. The ICJ has decided to proceed with the case without really focusing.
Yeah, it's Article 40.
Article 40, I beg your pardon. Article 40, I beg your pardon. So basically, I think I agree fully with Kenya's position that that matter should have been deliberated out of court, like Kenya had requested earlier on, maybe using the African Union or other non-judicial mechanism to try and find a solution to this dispute between Kenya and Somalia. Because again, there's a greater benefit and there's greater good in Kenya and Somalia relation beyond the dispute, the territorial dispute that we are seeing. It is threatening the harmony that Kenya and Somalia have been enjoying over time. And if you're not very careful, this is also likely going to spill over to other East African countries or even to the entire African region. Because now we see, it looks like there's Western power conspiracy to see into it that Kenya is going to be affected negatively by the outcome of this, by the outcome of the impending judgment. Because again, Dr. Masanga has highlighted, and I think it is something that is in the public domain. We have a Somali judge presiding over at the ICJ. And virtue of common sense will tell you, if we are having a person who harbors rather interest, we are unlikely going to get an impartial kind of a judgment after all. So that in itself gives qualifies Kenya's misgiving in as far as participating in this case is concerned. So I fully agree with Kenya's withdrawal, or rather refusing to participate in this proceeding.
Well, thank you so much, Samuel Tawish. And we will come into the issue of conflict of interest with the Somali judge being part of the panel there hearing this Kenyan case. But I'd like to invite also a guest panelist today, Tom Mogaka. What is your position on this issue, the first one that Kenya is raising, saying, we already have, we already agreed with Somalia on another method of solving this problem, and yet the court has refused to consider this previous agreement. Do we have
Tom Mogaka also disappeared?
All right, I'll go to Musa.
Yes, Miriam.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think my humble submission to this is Dr. Masanga said a very important point as far as this question of Kenya and Somalia relation is concerned. And that is activism and lobby. As far as activism and lobbying is concerned, I will go also to add the public support and public opinion, Miriam. Wherever a war starts, wherever the issue of foreign relations gets on, the public should be engaged. This has been happening. You remember in 2011 under the Operation Linda Inchi, when Mwai Kibaki decided to intervene in Somalia, he really got a lot of public support because of the various issues of kidnappings and attacks and violences here and there. The same happened to United States of America, though negatively. The Vietnam War really drew a lot of negative public opinion, which really forced Nixon, to drop the bid, and to drop the interventionist war and decided to withdraw from Saigon. Come to this Kenyan issue and Somalia. What I have on the ground and what we've been hearing across the radio stations from Somalia is that the public, the people on the ground are more concerned with elections. They are not concerned with the foreign policy of a nation. They are more concerned with rebuilding Somalia. They are more concerned with how the policing issue. Remember, Donald Trump withdrew 2,000 United States of American soldiers last year from Somalia. They have been helping in terms of capacity building and training of Somalia army who are dealing with counterterrorism, and at the same time the police. People asking a very candid question. We are not concerned with foreign relation now. We are not concerned with foreign policy. All the things we are getting from apart from illegal sugar from Brazil via the port, nearly all of maintenance, machinery, supplies of Somalia is coming through Kenya. They have the longest coastline in Africa, yes, but in terms of security and quality of things coming from Europe and other part of the world, Kenya is playing really a key role. We know that. We know the case for Isili and how the Kenyan Somalis are really doing their business here. So people are not concerned, and the public opinion is that Farmajo should just focus on conducting an election which he has postponed since 8th of February. It's a very candid question. And even when you go to issues of governance, Dr. Matsanga and my fellow panelists, is that how can a country wage and purge for foreign policy when they have failed to honor one of the key fundamental issues in their government, and that is election? I think even in our candid discussion, when elections are something, transitional, it should not be determined by availability or the consent of the president, as long as Farmajo is concerned. And so secondly, from that public opinion on the issue of election, Dr. Matsanga said the issue of ungrateful neighbor. You remember in 2017 and 2018 when Uhuru Kenyatta was serving his second term, there was a motion moved that for the fear and for the reduction of cases of insecurity, Dadaab refugee camp and Kakuma refugee camp are going to be closed, and the people are going to leave voluntarily at their own pleasure, going back to Somalia. United Nations Commission on refugee and asylum seekers really intervened in Kenya. Even the commissioner and the ambassador came to the ground and talked to Kenya that they should intervene. We've been lending ears and we'll be listening to these people. And now when a country is stabilizing, Somalia is yet to eradicate Al-Shabaab from Jubaland. What will convince you, if Al-Shabaab really existed, that they are not going to take the oil fields if you are going to explore in the name of Norway and France? It's a very candid question. Actually, 90% of Somalia minerals and exploration are in the hands of rebels and insurgencies. Dr. Masanga spoke about the issue of piracy. The rich harbors and the rich waters of Somalia around Kismayu Port, were it not for Kenyan mission in Somalia, were it not for Kenyan intervention under AMISOM flagship, it could have been in the hands of this Al-Shabaab. So what will convict Somalia to believe that if indeed Norway and France can come, then the exploration of these oil fields will really remain in their hands? I submit, Dr.
Okay, thank you so much. Jevan Karanja.
Okay, thank you so much, Miriam, for that question and for the discussion that we are having this good afternoon around the maritime dispute between Kenya and Somali. I agree with the sentiments made by fellow panelists and the insights made by Dr. David Matsanga on the same very issue. One, Miriam, I agree with the decision taken by the government of Kenya because one, the people of Somalia has regarded the memorandum to use and to exhaust the regional frameworks to settle the issue. By doing that, they went to ICJ. And you see, they are not regarding the AU as a body which can settle this issue amicably and to bring disputes. Therefore, we see people who have no willingness to ensure that the regional bodies are empowered or regional bodies are respected when it comes to such matters. Therefore, to me, that is so unfortunate because we need, as Africans, to have and to use the African Union frameworks to ensure we solve these kind of issues without going to ICJ, where the court itself has been interfered. It has been injected by bad blood from external forces. Therefore, we as a country, we went there as a victim. We already know the final determination, the favorism, and to that, Kenya has taken a very bold step to ensure that they don't participate in that kind of a process where they have already been a victim. Because at the end of the day, Miriam, in public eye, if justice is not seen to be done, then that disqualifies the neutrality of the court. We have also seen the conflict of interest having a Somali judge in place. Therefore, at the end of the day, we as a country, Kenya, we didn't expect a justice, didn't expect good and fair ruling to come from ICJ. Also, Miriam, on the issue where Kenya was denied a chance to present what Kenyans AG called as a new amount of credible evidence. You see, you cannot go to a court, Miriam, or to a ruling where you are denied a chance to present your evidence, to compile your enough evidence. You know, you are given room to present enough evidence that can show you are guilty or you are innocent in a court of law. Mm-hmm. Therefore, when the ICJ denies Kenya a chance or ICJ rather fails to admit new evidences presented by the Kenyan government, shows an unfairness, shows a court that is not determined to ensure that it delivers justice to the people of Kenya. Therefore, at the end of the day, Miriam, we see Kenya was also willing to have the extension of the hearing extended to further to sometimes to be pushed further so that Kenyans can prepare adequately so that we can have this issue settled out quite where all the parties are satisfied with the evidence, are satisfied with information that they have gathered, and we have not seen that being guaranteed. Therefore, at the end of the day, ICJ and the government of Somalia is like they worked in conjunction to ensure that Kenyan government or Kenya as a country does not get a fair ruling. Because, Miriam, I see the need also as a Kenyan to extend so that Kenya can prepare adequately, so that we can have even the issue of COVID-19 regulation put in place, so that we can have our lawyers, we can have our legal team travel to The Hague so that they can submit their proposals as in person without relying on the visual transmissions, which are not quite effective, especially in this context, because they are out of their technological errors that can arise. Therefore, at the end of the day, we as a government, as a country, Kenya, we have done a very good decision to quit from this proceeding, because at the end of the day, justice was not being guaranteed even from the public eye. Therefore, as Doctor have said, let's go to a higher institution, a UN, where Kenya is also part and parcel of the Security Council, to see how these things will shape out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, on the matters internet, which we shall look at very shortly, Kenya has said this case is too complex and too important to be heard over the internet. Let's look at the second issue that the doctor had presented earlier, and perhaps Kenya's position as to why they feel this case was not supposed to happen. And a reminder, already started yesterday, and Kenya had maintained good relationship with Somalia at a very great cost. Kenya has hosted over 1 million Somali refugees refugees over the years. It has also hosted the Somali government in Nairobi for several years and invested heavily in financial terms to restore stability in Somalia. This is in addition to the fact that hundreds of Kenyan soldiers have lost their lives to ensure security and restore stability in Somalia. These efforts have earned Kenya the wrath of Somali-based Al-Shabaab militant groups, and in Kenya has led to loss of hundreds of innocent lives and millions worth of property. And we know that Kenya has paid a high price tag when it comes to terrorism from Somalia there. Is this a case of ungrateful neighbor, Douglas Kirimi?
Thank you, Miriam, and thank you for that question. The people of Somalia and the people of Kenya, except for the colonial boundary that Otto von Bismarck put to us, we have existed as brothers and sisters for a very long time. And in the case of this boundary that is between Kenya and Somalia, we have also worked very hard to restore sanity and restore peace in their country. When their country went to the dogs, when they became a pariah. This is one of the testaments that Transparency International and other international agencies give about Kenya. Kenya is regarded as one of the countries that made the greatest and the biggest human sacrifices. A lot of Kenyans have poured their blood for the sake of stability in Somalia. This is not what Somalia today under Farmajo sees. This is not what Farmajo and the administration see when they look at Kenya. They see Kenya as an aggressor. They see Kenya as an enemy. They see Kenya as a country that is out to exploit their dignity and also their country. And my question is, why would we exploit the dignity of our people that are already beaten by war, by civil war since 1991, a country that has gone to become a pariah, a country that we have gone to share our own ambition as a country with, a country that we have gone ahead to pacify their peace and also to make sure that their country is better. At the end of the day, what we are seeing today is a manifestation of selfishness and greed and also self-interest from the people of Somalia, led by Farmajo, a section of people of Somalia. I cannot bundle the people of Somalia together and say that the people of Somalia are selfish and also they are looking for their own self-interest. It is a section of Somali people led by their president, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, the nephew of Siad Barre, who in 1991, when he was toppled as president of Somalia, took their country to the dogs, and also a civil war ensued. Until today, Somalia has never known peace. Until today, Kenya, our neighbor, has never known peace. We continue sharing a polarized border. We continue suffering the effects and also the sacrifice that we have been able to make for Somalia. The effects are that Al-Shabaab target our country. Al-Shabaab continue ravaging our country time to time, but we have been able to contain the situation and also be good to the people of Somalia. What I'm asking today to the people of Somalia is that they need to surrender and also give up their leaders who have become dictators now, led by Mohamed Farmajo, a man that continues sitting at Villa Somalia for nothing. Since the 8th of February 2021, this man was supposed to have all the elections in Somalia, and he continues besmirching the constitution and also the people of Somalia, the goodwill that we have extended as a country, Kenya, for Somali people. He does not see that. This is a very ungrateful leader together with his advisors and also a section of the people that continue hating him to continue staying in power, Miriam. This is a complete case of a lost brotherhood and also a lost cause of peace and also stability of their country. When this judge, Mr. Yusuf, was told that it is a bias for him to continue serving as a judge at ICJ, he should have recused himself from the case for the sake of the peace that we have as a country, as two countries, and also our regional ambitions as a people. And Miriam, this is what I think that Somalia has continued erring in the process of having peace in these two countries when they continue having their own judge in that chamber at ICJ. When today we continue having that man there who is very corrupt and also a man that is very biased towards the people of Kenya. They should have recused themselves for the sake of what we have. It shows that they are very selfish, and the people that continue helping Mohamed Farmajo in power today are very selfish, and they don't want to be grateful to the country of Kenya, a country that has made so much human sacrifices to take Somalia where it is today, Miriam.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Magan Yusuf. It's Gideri, not Gideri. Please don't disrespect this delicacy over here, but thank you so much for watching. And I see a lot of you, especially from Somalia. You're very busy there writing. I'll go through some of your comments there. And we know that Somalia has respected and accepted this boundary for over 40 years, Doctor. Why now?
Foreign intervention, foreign expansionism theory, oil, greed for oil, recolonization of Africa. Those are the values, core values, grabbing back Africa. We are grabbing back Africa in 4 categories. 1, regime change through elections. Go and put an election in Africa under COVID and tell them, did you remember the phrase, dead bodies will be very many in Africa? Why do you think everything wrong is attached to Africa? You Africans who are on this panel, what do you think? Everything which is very bad, it is said Africa. Even in a film movie that you see in California, the black man is beaten more. There is, have you seen those films where they put the cast, the man, in fact, they do the funniest part is done by a black guy. So there is that doctrine of adventurism against Africa. These guys failed to get to Somalia. In 1991, they told Mr. Siad Barre that we can help you to organize Somalia. It collapsed. Miriam, Somalia, the generals came from other areas, overthrew Siad Barre. They were not happy because Americans told them, we are with you. Leave the Soviet Union, we shall help you. You saw how Americans left Somalia hurriedly with their trousers in the knees, some without trousers. Very pitiful event of eyes for us to see in the whole world. And the very bad things done to the humanity. That sounds you how bad Somalis are when they get turned into their nationalism. Ethiopians have an answer for that. You saw how Ethiopians left everything, even their trousers, and they went. So one of the answers to this question of yours, 40 years, we have been quiet, we have been friends, not only 40 years, maybe 200 million years. When God created this oil, he put it down there. We don't know how old the earth is. There was no quarrel about oil, but the quarrel has come, oil quarrel has come when a man called Hassan Hari became the prime minister, went and sold these oil blocks, created a company called Soma Oil Company and Gas, used it as a floating index in New York and in London, obtained the cash purportedly to go and do feasibility study on oil blocks. This is when Kenya started feeling something is not going on right. People sold something they have not seen. Now, how do you solve something? You have sold something you have not seen. I've sold you a cow. When I come to pick my cow, it is not available. So what do? They turned on the man who bought the cow to say, no, you know what you can do? We need this thing now. So you declare a war that you have a boundary issue. Norway went back to collect the boundary and with Russia. Mercenaries. You know, we are dealing with mercenaries here. They went down and sat down and said, let's collect the boundary. Somalia has no bank, has no functioning bank in Mogadishu. They don't have a central bank, leave alone having a toilet. Toilets are being built by UN. Yes, they are being rebuilt. Somalia is being rebuilt. Let's be honest, by Kenya and the Uganda people and other agencies. Look at that. Where does Somalia get the money to pay for? One of the professors in that show is my friend on the Somali side. Do you know how much he was paid? It's almost $3 million. So where does Somalia get $3 million? No, honestly. You asked me for why is this. So I will break down the reasons. One of the people on the Somalia bench is a great friend of mine. He's about 2 miles away from Surrey, where I live here in London. We have met several times on several cases on Africa. I was introduced to him by Sir James. Yes. So you see that is one of the things that brought all this trouble. Money, expansionism, crude oil, and adventurism. You can add those. And some of these Bazungu do things for adventure. the map. How many of you grew and knew? Did you know there was a map? Turkey, once territory, is a colonial expansion. The Ottoman Empire lost territory in Africa, but it has come in suits. I am happy Tawish is not wearing a Turkish suit, it's German and other people. You know, Turkey now has brought, Turkey is the manufacturer. But what they are doing now is your money. It's the money that they grabbed to build Ankara. Yes, it's your money. It's the money of the African continent. You remember Turkey failed on the East African coast. The Ottoman Empire was not able to stand the fight against Arabs. It gave up and went back. We have new Ottoman Empire Tsars, like that president of Turkey. He has armed Somalia to the teeth, the highest teeth, with the latest airplanes. Where is the war? Why can't we use this money to fight the guys who are killing us in Mogadishu? Why are you arming them in preparation for war in Kenya? That's why, Miriam, I'm always very amused. These diplomats enjoy diplomatic immunity in Kenya. They are not summoned to be told, we are aware of what you are doing against Kenya. That is my point. Mm-hmm. Another point is Somalia changed leadership. The last one. The point, he changed the leadership. The man who came to power, Mohamed Farmajo, is a Republican from Minnesota. He grew up, he got asylum in Minnesota. He's an American. Somalia has no president. Somalia has an American president. I have asked Farmajo, who keeps on calling me an infidel. It's all right. Even this morning, in Villa, Somalia, thank you for calling me an infidel. Can you see how my Ugandan people can listen to you? They are listening to you. And I have received that information. It is here. Continue calling me an infidel. Doesn't matter. I will speak the truth, Mr. Farmajo. There came Farimajo. Can Farimajo show me the letter? I want the world to see the letter that canceled Farimajo's passport, American passport. Show me. If you are man enough, show me the letter. Show the letter to the world. Publish it to the any newspaper and say, I got a cancellation through the American government cancelling the passport which I obtained as an American. Shame on you, Mr. Farimajo. You are lying people. You are the cause of all these problems. You are not. You should be banned out of African Union. You should not sit in African Union. We don't care now. We are not going to have any good words for you. You have become a bad asset. There is no passport. Cancelled. This is an American extension of sovereign oil. East or West, Tawish, and Miriam, Javan, Musa, Douglas. Do you know where you will end? You will find this is sovereign. There is somebody in Texas pulling strings for these blocks of oil in the Indian Ocean. If I'm wrong, if I'm not here, and I'm gone, remember my words. So the only thing that Kenya can do, let's stand and embarrass. Let that court. Have you seen how the American woman, presiding judge, can you try an America? Go and try and say, take the island of an America. They will come in 2 minutes, you are dead. The ocean will be dug deeper. But the American woman was floated by France. France was when the case was taken, it was the French. Have you seen how the interests are linked up with Somalia? France failed to get oil in Uganda, in South Sudan. You refused to give France oil, Ngamia 1 or Ngamia 2. You took the oil. International students must know that something is wrong. It is the oil. What are they doing in Mozambique? Oil. What are they doing in the Central African Republic? Diamonds. What are they doing in Equatorial Guinea? Oil. What did they want to do in Somalia and the Indian Ocean? Oil. But I tell you, Miriam, it will be tears.
All right, Doctor, thank you. So now let's look at the other issue that Kenya is raising there outside of ungrateful neighbor jurisdiction. Let's look at the biasness that comes with having a Somalia judge in that bench in the name of Yusuf, who is a Somalian national. Crucially, he represented Somalia at the 3rd UN Law of the Sea Conference. And in case you didn't know, Kenya's case extensively relies on the deliberations during the said conference to demonstrate that both Somalia and Kenya were opposed to the use of equidistance, which Somalia now seeks to rely on. Judge Yusuf, who until February 2021 was also the president of the court, is therefore in a clear position of conflict of interest. Surely we don't need even an interpretation of this. Tawish, what do you make of this judge, a Somalia judge in the same case, and also the background that I just given out there, the biasness of his presence in that bench?
Very well, thank you once more, Miriam. Just like you rightly put it, Kenya is still justified really to say no to these court proceedings for that very reason you're giving, that we have one of the judges who is a Somali by origin. And obviously, nobody will expect that that judge, being the presiding judge in that particular case, will give a judgment or other verdict that will be favorable to Kenya. He's most likely going to lean on his country because he has an interest. He's an interested party, being a Somali in the first place. So you will not expect him to give a verdict that will be in favor of Kenya. So going forward, I think what he should have done in the first place, just to give it benefit of doubt, would have probably been to excuse himself from participating in this particular case and allow those other judges who may not necessarily have a biased interest towards this particular case. So indeed, Kenya is right by saying we cannot proceed in this particular case by that very reason. And again, you'll also understand, you'll also rather underscore the fact that this particular court does not have a room for appeal. The decision that the ICJ will have made at the end of this particular proceeding will be binding, or rather it will be the final, and there will be no any other place you'll have to go and appeal it. Therefore, it makes it rather a negative finality when you do not have any room to ventilate further in a case where you feel like maybe your views were not well heard, or your concerns were not well addressed when it comes to the final ruling in this particular case. So therefore, Kenya is right to say no. And I fully agree with what Dr. Masanga submitted earlier on, that maybe Kenya should now focus on going to the United Nations Security Council to petition these particular proceedings that are ongoing at the ICJ. Because again, a lot of processes, vital and significant processes, have been violated, or rather have been overlooked, which would have informed the basis upon which this case would have proceeded in a way that suits, or rather makes every other party content with the proceedings of this particular case. So I submit and agree fully that Kenya was right, and anyone from anywhere will agree that it cannot be possible. You have a judge who is, in this case, interested in this case, but again, wants to proceed with this case, albeit the misgiving that the parties, or one party has on his presence, or rather him being a presiding judge in this case. Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much, Samuel Tawish. Now, the court has, without any justification, rejected Kenya's request for the recusal of Judge Yusuf Musa. Why do you think this is the case in normal case proceedings? If a judge seems to be having some conflict of interest in a case, the normal standard practice that is acceptable is for somebody to recuse themselves. But do you think the ICJ was not keen on hearing why Kenya needed the judge to recuse himself?
Miriam, when you look at this,
before Musa comes in, there is Mr. Moidin Dire wants to join. I want to tell Mr. Moidin Dire to join. Look at our poster. It has got the Zoom number. He wants to join. He has been calling on my phone several times. So tell the production team to join him. Let's hear what he said. Mr. Moiden, you can join on number 399-535-8320. Then the postcode to enter, the code to enter is 503670. Punch in on Zoom. Come, tell us what you know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Musa, go ahead.
Thank you, Miriam. I think for this question, and I would like to be direct, the point is that it's as if, Miriam, you give the Germans, you give the Nazis to be in charge of the Nuremberg trial of the people and the perpetration they have done against the Jews. Or simply say, it's as if you are bringing the likes of Joseph Kony to be the presiding people against the Rwandan genocide case. The examples go on, Miriam. It's as if you bring someone like Frederick de Klerk to be now the chairperson of the apartheid committee, who are going to chair on how people are going to be given rights and how people are going to be repatriated back. It's very simple, Miriam. Go to the Americans. It's as if you tell me America will come and George Bush shall be the chairperson for the Iraqi people who have suffered from Iraqi war, people who have suffered in the Iraqi war or the Iranian war of 1988. It's very simple, Miriam. Now, the reason why we are seeing the conflict of interest here is we know very well. United States of America, Dr. Matsanga will agree with me, they have not ratified Rome Statute of 1998. They are not the ratified members. And that is the reason why they have been punching hard on International Criminal Court as far as that case is concerned. And now the question to make it better is that now Abdullah Yusuf is there. I mean, the Yusuf guy is there. We know very well he is really bound by representation and by the conflict of interest in representing Somalia in this case. One of the precedences which it will tantamount to, Miriam, and I'm forecasting this and I'm predicting this, is that in future, it shall be normal for someone to have a conflict of interest and being the resident president of the judge and still rule in favor of their nation. It will come to pass and it will be applied as a law. Remember, in law, you are told we follow, let it be an example, we set an example, let it be a ruling precedence. The same way it is happening with the United Kingdom and Magna Carta. And now when they are telling us about the boundary dispute and the triangular dispute in the Indian Ocean, Miriam, it means the jurisprudence is going to have an unequivocal consequence to our neighbors, Tanzania. I know Kenya will now use the same rule and say, we've lost a huge chunk of ocean here. We are now going to south to our counterparts, Tanzania. The same rule shall be applied. So we are going to have some sense of anarchy in this. And what I perceive here and what I perceive here, Somalia decided to seek attention in the most unnecessary of the places, Miriam. Why do you have to take the case ICJ when you had a memorandum of understanding in 2009? So my humble submission here is whatever the Kenyan government has decided to do is the right way, Miriam. If war will come, if confrontation will come, let me tell you, this country will suffer, but we shall not suffer more than Somalia. We are not going to suffer more than these people. We've given them the right administration of governance. Dr. Matsanga even said there was a time their MPs were making laws here in Nairobi. They had their legislative arm of parliament here in Nairobi making laws.
Even the president.
So as far as that that Yusuf is concerned, Miriam, it's not going to help. It's not going to work, or in a way that is anticipated. It is the same of the thing which is happening currently in Ethiopia. The Director General for World Health Organization is trying to intervene in the Tigray war, and he has been accused of intervening, Miriam. If indeed United Nations and the whole body, ICJ, have been serious about this, Miriam, why have they not been persistent in dealing with such a case? We have a lot of competent people, Miriam. We have Fatou Bensouda. We have Ekaterina Trendafilova, who presided over Kenyan, ICC case. Mm-hmm. Why have they not taken the same precedence, Miriam? Now we are seeing the same thing happening. It has been happening anyway with the United Nations, Miriam. You remember very well, oil for food scandal in Iraq, whereby the United Nations, they really went hard, they really went deep in the cases of some of the American, tycoons and oligarchs using the program in their favor, Miriam. And still America were the ones who are deciding. The same is what is happening with United Nations Refugee Council for Palestine issue, Miriam. They have been blockading the Palestinian people from the sides of Gaza, and yet the very person who is presiding over this agenda and who is trying to have peace is the same America which is recognizing Israel to be a one state. Mm-hmm. So the same is happening to Somalia, and the Somalian-Kenyan relation issue, and I do not have trust. I will take the Kenyan way. I fully submit the foreign policy which is directing Kenya to withdraw, to take it as an issue and let us write a protest, agenda or not, to United Nations Security Council, Miriam. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Well, on the issue of Israel and Palestine, I think America has always maintained the position of two-state solution. It's only Trump who came and changed that, but I'm sure Biden will go to the long-standing understanding there that America has for a long time advocated for a two-state solution, but that is not our problem today.
Miriam, for your information, mm-hmm. I give you some information to the panel. While they are doing the protectionism in ICJ, in ICC, they are tackling Karim Khan. Have you seen the double standards of these international bodies? America and other people, and Israel has mobilized the people to say Karim Khan cannot become the chief prosecutor of International Criminal Court. Simply because Karim Khan, one, he stood on the side of Palestine. So can you see the double standards? To add on what Musa has said, that's international politics is never there. And anybody, please, I advise you who are studying this, tear your degrees. It doesn't, even mine, I might actually throw it away because there is no international relations. Have you seen the trouble for Khan before he takes office?
Yeah.
They want him out because they say he's conflict of interest. There are 2 Kenyan cases hanging in the court.
Which
and then there's Palestine issue. He was involved as a lawyer. How will he be a chief prosecutor?
So on the same breath, they should have considered Judge Yusuf on the same merits.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Douglas, go ahead. Abu said, if you had, I think you had concluded for the because I also want us to look at this other issue that Kenya is raising there. Yes,
I've concluded.
Douglas to come in. Douglas, the conflict of interest here is quite apparent, and with additional information there from Dr. and Abdi. I'll go to Jay.
Miriam,
Okay, go ahead.
Miriam, one thing we need to understand is that as we continue suffering the effects of conflict of interest here, is that it is very simple. In every jurisdiction, a judge or a lawyer can recuse themselves from a case where conflict of interest is very prevalent. And in this case, Somalia had an option. And also for the Republic of Kenya to have withdrawn from these proceedings, the last minute was the best thing that they did when they pulled the rug out of the brew. They didn't expect this, and this is a masterstroke from the Kenyan side. So I think Somalia is not as genuine as Kenya would have been if they were the ones that understood Somalia. And at the end of the day, it shows that what type of leaders we are dealing with in Somalia. The people of Somalia are very good. They have the best restaurants in Nairobi. They have the best investments in Nairobi. They have come to our nation and invested in our nation. We have given the business permit. We have allowed them to come to our country and invest in our country. Because if we are bad, as Somalia is trying to paint us at ICJ together with the judge that has been so biased against the people of Kenya and against our bid, there is nothing that Kenya says at ICJ that matters. There is nothing that Kenya, who has been sued by Somalia, says at ICJ that matters. There is nothing they listen to us. Everything they keep throwing it out. And you want us to continue operating under such circumstances and also the conflict of interest that we are experiencing? I don't think any country can do that. And the greatest thing the government of Kenya has done to us as the people of Kenya is to recuse themselves and get out of that case, because there is nothing that the people of Kenya, with judges and lawyers and government advisors and everyone that we say at ICJ matters at this point. All that matters is this judge that is at ICJ has influenced opinions against Kenya, has influenced the court against Kenya. We cannot walk into a setup when we can see truly that this conflict of interest continue when this judge, Abdulrahman Yusuf, could have recused himself from the case. And at the end of the day, as a people, as a country, we cannot accept either of the sides. And as they continue giving out their ruling, the court itself and the proceedings from that court and also the results from that court have an history of not being honored by any country. I don't wish our country will not honor that, but in my heart I know that if this thing goes either way, the way of Somalia or the way of Kenya, there is none of the party that is going to agree amicably. It is the high time that we know that this conflict of interest and also the bias that the court has continued showing the people of Kenya, it is the high time ICJ, all the international community looked at this, because at the end of the day, Miriam, either way, the results from that court are not going to be favorable to the people of Kenya, because from the word go, this judge has been very biased against the people of Kenya. We cannot have a very biased, corrupt judge who sits at ICJ presiding over a case over Kenya when we expect nothing rather than those biases that they have against the people of Kenya still. So Miriam, for the sake of peace, for the sake of progress, for the sake of a better tomorrow, and you have said a very important point before, you said that Somalia has respected these boundaries for over 40 years. What has happened today? What has woken them today? What is this word of magic that has thrown over Somalia? And now the people of Somalia think that now we have taken their land. We have taken their territorial waters. What is this word of magic that has been happening across the people of Somalia? Were it not for the greed of Mohamed Farmajo, the shameless dictator that continues staying in power illegitimately, Miriam, this man continues sitting at Villa Somalia illegitimate. He has no legitimacy. This is a man who continues sitting in office against the will of Somalia people and also the opposition. The civil society is crying. Everyone in Somalia is making noise. The opposition, regional governments are crying. In Somalia, there is no democracy in Somalia. These people are looking for justice at the International Court of Justice, whereas at home they cannot dispense an iota of justice and democracy to the people of Somalia. This is a leader who can power delegations powered by Turkey, Qatari, and also Norway, and continues stifling the voices of democracy and progress and a better tomorrow for the people of Somalia. This is a man who continues waging and working for war with the people of Kenya, whereas he cannot pacify peace in Somalia. He cannot guarantee the people of Somalia peace. This is a man that cannot guarantee peaceful elections. This is a man who doesn't want to leave Bira Somalia because he has sold our well blocks in Indian Ocean. He has eaten money from Qatari, Norway, and Turkey. We cannot accept this kind of biasness, Miriam, against the people of Kenya, against the people of Kenya and against our territorial waters.
Right.
And Miriam, the war in Indian Ocean will not come as a result of high-handedness from Kenya. It will come from selfishness of Falmajo and his few advisors and the Western resource-greedy allies who continue funding the simmering war in Indian Ocean, the war of our well blocks. Where were they 40, 30, 20 years ago? Where were they? Where was Somalia when for 40 years they have been respecting these international boundaries in our waters?
All right, thank you.
As Somalia continues provoking us, it is the high time the people of Somalia, the opposition, the civil society, and the international community and people of goodwill see who Mohamed Farmajo is, who the president of Somalia is. He's an hypocrite, a man who continues sitting in office illegitimately, who cannot guarantee peaceful elections in Somalia, who cannot guarantee peace in Somalia, a man who cannot guarantee the people of Somalia a better country, a better tomorrow. And Miriam, as I conclude my point, is that in the case, in the context and text of this biasness that we are seeing from International Criminal Court of Justice, where we have this judge who has continued leaning towards his nation Somalia, the people of Kenya will not stand to be insulted by such tendencies that have been given time to grow, and also they have grown wings. And for Mohamed Farmajo, it is the high time you guarantee people of Somalia elections, they vote for a president that can take their country forward.
All right.
And also for the people of Somalia, it is the high time you see who you are dealing with. You should leave our well blocks alone. And if Mohamed Farmajo...
Thank you so much, Douglas. Thank you so much. All right. Douglas is
Miriam, if you allow me the latitude, perhaps I can add on one point, please.
Just hold on. I'll bring you in, actually, after, because I need Karanja also to speak on it. He hasn't said a word on this biasness, and then I'll come to you, Tawish. And one of our viewers here, Emre Yunus, thank you so much. You're very actively participating and involved in the show today. We appreciate your presence. And you're saying Somalis are not guests in Kenya. Garissa, Mandera, and Wajir are Somali-inhabited areas of Kenya. They are not in Kenya on anyone's permission. I'd like to remind you there, and a point of corrections, Garissa, Mandera, and Wajir, these are Kenyans of Somali origin. So let's just make that very clear. Those are Kenyans. All right. So Javan Karanja, on the issue of biasness on this judge, before we go to the other issue that Kenya raised about listening to this case via the internet, what do you make of this biasness of a Somali judge on this bench?
Thank you very much, Miriam. On the issue of biasness and having a judge of Somali origin as the making a determination on the maritime dispute between Kenya and Somali, that is so unfortunate, and justice is not guaranteed. Fairness is not guaranteed to the people of Kenya, because when, Miriam, you cannot go for a football match and you have a referee who is not neutral to oversee the game. You'll see people will not accept the end results, and that is what we are heading to, where Kenyans, as a country, we are not guaranteed of fairness and justice, because we already have a judge who is of Somali origin and who has a biased opinion on the matter towards Kenya. Therefore, I agree with the rest of panelists that the decision that Kenya made to quit or to pull out of the ruling, that was a very bold decision, because at the end of the day, justice was not seen be done, because a lot of issues and a lot of reservations that Kenyans had were not put into place. Miriam, there are some evidence, there are some documents that the Kenya legal team want to present in person to the ICJ, but that one was denied. Therefore, when you look at it, Miriam, you see a lot of influence, and I agree there is external influence from other countries who benefits from the oil resource, the oil vast region in Indian Ocean. There are countries that benefit, they have a hand, and they want to ensure that the Justice Yusuf continues to sit on the panel so that he can have a hand on the final determination. Therefore, as a country, we need to avoid that route. We cannot go where we are already victimized, where justice is not seen to be done. That, to me, is not the right way to go. And I agree, Kenya did a very good decision to pull out from that court ruling, proceedings, rather, yeah.
Thank you so much, Jevan. Tawish, quickly, you wanted to say something, and then we can move on to the next point as we conclude.
Much appreciation, Sir Miriam. There's one point about procedure, and I think it's something we have highlighted so well, that there are some steps or procedures that were violated by this particular court in terms of consent, and that in itself tells you the motivation and the spirited effort behind why Somalia has been so much eager to have this case actually adjudicated at the ICJ and not actually resolved in any other way, because they seem to have a premeditated verdict out of this particular case. Let us put it to the Somalians, for instance. How would they have felt if it was a Kenyan judge presiding over in this particular case, where Kenya and Somalia are actually interested parties? How would they have felt? They should not treat us as different. Therefore, Kenya should not anticipate any fair or positive outcome out of these proceedings. It is just something that has a predetermined verdict, and therefore Kenya should actually proceed and petition these proceedings at the United Nations Security Council. Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. And as we look at the other issue that Kenya raised as to why it was finding this a problem for it to continue with this case, they said that it is unsuitable to hear a case of this magnitude via video link. And this is the first time that the court will be conducting a hearing on the merits by video links. A hearing by video link is not suitable for the presentation, according to Kenya, of the Kenya's case, which is heavily based on demonstratives such as maps. Somalia's case does not rely on demonstratives, which gives Somalia a comparative advantage in a video hearing. This case, Kenya says, is too complex and too important to be heard on the internet. Other than the fact that internet connectivity is unreliable, a hearing by video link will deny Kenyans the opportunity to follow the conduct of such a critical case of a national importance. Doctor. Okay, I'll go to Musa if Doctor is not there. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. Pardon, your question?
So Kenya is saying we cannot, this case is too important for us to hear it through video links, and they're saying their evidence, part of their evidence has demonstrations that will be more appropriately done on a one-on-one basis hearing. So by video link, that already will pose a challenge.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And I will agree with the Kenyan side as far as this is concerned, because showing the video link, Miriam, and issues of, prosecuting and, jurisdiction is concerned, that shows that this case, I think, in the face of ICJ is of less priority, Miriam. Why do you have to use video link when you can have in that International Court of Justice a socially distanced presentation of every side? People can listen to one another, and there's some information, Miriam. It's a human nature. We get to be more attracted and more attentive to physical things rather than intangible things. When you're presenting an information in form of a slide, Miriam, to an online or a video link technology, it cannot show that sense of apathy. It cannot show that sense of, urgency. It cannot show that sense of, seriousness in it. Someone will just take it as a more of a lecture class, and things will move on, Miriam. We need credible and hard evidences to be brought as far as this is concerned. Why did they? I know they are using as escapism the issue of COVID-19 when they were prosecuting some, I don't know, it's called Katanga, the rebel from Democratic Republic of Congo. If indeed he was a man who was really endangering security of the nation, that is Netherlands is concerned, why do they have to use the same agenda and use the same protocol to use this? And if indeed in one case, Miriam, I know if one advantage they could have used, they could have said, maybe we are cutting on cost and traveling of these, people to be convicted and prosecuted, then we could not have, been managing this so we can get an online, agenda on this. But I'm not really convinced. And I will take my brother's Tadwish way. Why does it feel so bad from the Somalis that if they will find one day, the international law and issues of international relations, Miriam, will recur. It is recurring. It comes and it will come over and over again. How will they feel one day a serious senior Kenyan judge is seated on the bench as a resident president and is ruling on the advent of the issue of Jubaland? Maybe Kenya is reclaiming that Jubaland is going to be part of Kenya. Let's say, for example, how are they going to feel? So this has nothing to do with issues of technology. And to add the second, Miriam, there is what we call thinking long term. I know Farmajo is using the nationalism agenda so that he can be getting re-elected in using Kenyan case premeditatedly in every corner of Somalia. That's what we are aware. Secondly, Farmajo is using this attempt so that the move by Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to recognize Somaliland as an autonomous country will be thwarted, Miriam. That is what is happening. Raila Amolo Odinga has been pushing for this even when he was Prime Minister, saying that Somaliland is not a part of Somalia. It's an it's an autonomous and independent country. But I know Farmajo is now desperate. When they were trying to block the issue of Mira, when they were trying to block the issue of, trade here and there and reported as to IGAD, those were the presidencies President Uhuru Kenyatta took. He said, I'm going to open a consulate in Hargeisa, Somaliland, come March. I know Farmajo is not really satisfied with this, and that is the reason why he's dedicating this issue to, expansionism agenda by taking us to International Court of Justice. And so my humble submission is this, Miriam. Remember very well, people differ, people disagree, but at the end of the day, we should all agree to one point. Somalia is being unilateral. Why is it that when they never had these allies in the name of Turkey, France, Norway, United Arab Emirates, Qataris, Saudi Arabias, when these countries were really fighting their own regime change, Somalia received no help. When Somalia was dying at the hands of Siad Barre, Kenya was there for it. When Somalia was rebuilding at the hands of Abdullah Yusuf, Kenya and Mwai Kibaki was there for them. When Somalia needed to eradicate Al-Shabaab rebel group, Miriam, from 2011 up to now, Kenya was here for them. When, to the matters of making it worse, the Jubaland President Ahmed Madobe could not disagree with his counterpart Farmajo, Kenya was the intermediary part where Uhuru Kenyatta ensured these people are agreeing to one term. So why is it that, Miriam, now you really feel so bitter about that triangular piece of land, piece of the ocean? Now someone have lied to you that there is an oil field and gas field there, you decide to change your tact. My humble submission and my advice to the Somali president, we know their agenda. It has happened in 1967. It has happened in 1963 when they came to our land, northeastern Kenya, telling our forefathers that they do not belong to Kenya, they belong to Somalia. We stood with Kenya, we flashed them out, Kenyatta flashed them out in Shifter War, Operation Shifter War. They are now coming back in the nemesis of Indian Ocean War. We know their expansionist agenda. We know how Siad Barre was expansionist, Miriam. We know how Sharmake, during the time of President Kenyatta, how he tried to be expansionist in trying to, demotivate and demystify the true call about Kenya. So my humble submission to Somali people, focus on where you have come from. The rebels and the destruction of the clans war, which you have been undergoing since 1993. Focus on the stability AMISOM is trying to help you achieve. Focus on the stability of your neighbors. That is the only time you can only focus on foreign policy, while after you've done and after you've organized your house well and after you've conducted your election. Let not Mohamed Farmajo use you for his intermittent issues of pushing for his re-election bid, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Musa Jevan. Should such an important case be heard via a video link? Kenya has issues with that.
Miriam, I disagree. That kind of important court proceeding should not be done via video link. And that is why I was in agreement with Kenyan government push to have the hearing extended to some later date so that Kenya can prepare adequately, so that we can look at the issue of COVID-19, so that travel restriction could have been uplifted, and our legal team from Kenya, from other countries, can be able to go in persons into the Hague and ICJ to present the documents live, and to have a live proceeding from Hague. But through video link, Miriam, I see a lot of technological errors. I see people not concentrating much. And Miriam, you see, when you go into this proceeding alive as a person, you have one-on-one interaction with other legal teams. You have one-on-one interaction. You are able to lead a language, body gestures of what is happening, or you will be able to notice any crooked information or any crooked occasion that might take place. Therefore, I agree this issue should have been dealt with, and that is why the Kenyan government, with their own prudent understanding, they were pushing for an extension of this hearing so that we can have the issue dealt with adequately, so that we can have everybody satisfied with the evidence that they have and present it at the Hague without using the video link, Miriam, which is not quite reliable, Miriam. We have seen even here, when you're using the Zoom technology, sometimes you hang, sometimes the internet just fails. Therefore, we need to have, and it can do that, Miriam, when you are ready as a legal team, you are presenting your proposals or recommendation to the judges. Therefore, I see it having a lot of shortcomings, and it is not effective, especially when it comes to that high magnitude case, high intensity case, which deals with maritime borders, which deals with two countries. That, Miriam, should have been done when everybody is at Hague, ICJ, so that they can present their proposals. Miriam, Miriam, we also have the issue of COVID-19. We also have the issue of Kenyans saying that is not adequately prepared. Why is this hurry, Miriam? Why are we running as if this is the final day, as if in the next, we cannot deal with this issue next year, we cannot deal with this issue next month? I think there's something hidden, and that is why the people of Somali, maybe because they have a judge of their origin, they want to hurry up this case so that a determination can be done that favors them. Therefore, I see it not in good faith, not to allow Kenya to prepare and to have its legal team well prepared and equipped to face the legal team in Somali. One thing, Miriam, all the legal team of Somali country, they are already in Hague. They were all based in Netherlands and other neighboring countries. Therefore, they were able to come to the country, Miriam. From the reports that I have seen, we have a legal team of lawyers who are coming from Kenya to travel all the way to Hague. Therefore, you see all this kind of restriction, COVID. That is why I see the issue to have been extended to a later date so that all the countries should prepare adequately. But a video link, Miriam, is not effective, especially on those kind of high magnitude cases dealing with maritime borders and countries. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And you know, Kenya in the past has sought several postponement of this case, which the court honored a few before, and the last one it sought in February, the court refused. And so in person or via video link, Douglas?
Thank you, Miriam. One thing we need to understand is that Kenya and evidence that demonstrable evidence that could have been used at the court and could only be presented to the court using demonstrable tools and in physical when these people, our Kenyan lawyers would have presented our cases amicably to the International Court of Justice. And one thing we need to be very fair to Kenya is that if they say today they have demonstrable evidence that they need to be able to present physically, and COVID-19 withstanding, it has to postpone this case and also to a later date. You need to listen to that. It's a very valid concern, Miriam. There are those things you cannot tell a person that is supposed to have their evidence, what you call demonstrable evidence, that cannot be presented via video link, that would bring more challenges to or some other demographics to the case. If it has to be presented physically, and also with COVID-19 that is also an health emergency across the world, the International Court of Justice would have reset to that. But like we have said before, this court has been biased towards Kenya since the word go. And at the end of the day, what Kenya has to do is to refuse anything that comes out of that court. Because Miriam, there is no way you can be able to refuse Kenya to deny an opportunity to appear via video link when Kenya says that they have enough evidence and this is why they cannot appear via video link. You don't go ahead and also allow others to do their submissions via video link. You need to reason why do these people, why is the Republic of Kenya saying that the video link is not good for their case? Miriam, there are so many aspects when you present your demonstrable evidence physically that you have. There are so many points you have to gain versus you presenting that evidence using video link, and also the technological challenges. We all know that if Somalia has been also having a judge that they cannot recuse from the case, they can also use hackers to hack our systems and also hack the internet and also make sure that our evidence and also presentations are hampered by the same. So Kenya is looking at different scenarios, and this is one of my scenarios that people can be able to interrupt my programming right now by switching off my internet, by also interfering with the internet and hacking and all that. So Kenya has a point when they say they need to present their evidence physically, and it has to be taken to a later date because one, we have the COVID-19 pandemic ravaging the world. So Miriam, from my perspective is that physical is more convincing than video link. Kenya should not have gone for video link. Why would we do video link when we can take our demonstrable evidence physically to ICJ International Court of Justice? And these are valid concerns that should have been reset by the court. And this court is very biased towards the people of Kenya and towards this case, Miriam. And we cannot start a case where we have already lost, where we have already had 2 instances of losing. Why would we go there? And there is no way you can tell us to now come and connect video link and also get into a case where we have already found out that there is a lot of biasness in this case, there is conflict of interest, and so many other aspects, Miriam, in this case. So my submission is physical is better than video link, because video link presents a lot of challenges that Kenya may not be able to, that may run out of control for the people of Kenya and also for this case, in this case, Miriam. Thank you.
So Kenya, you supporting the feeling that Kenya has that this case is too important to be held in that manner. All right, so there has been some cases that has preceded this at the International Court of Justice. So let me just take us through very quickly, and then Doctor will conclude for us. And a lot of this judgment rulings from the court were ignored. So let me read for you the culprits and what happened in some of these cases. So before the current cases, the U.S. in 1986 declined to participate in proceedings brought by Nicaragua, what Kenya now has done, accusing Washington of supporting the rebel group of Contras against the government. The ICJ gave judgment against the U.S., which refused to comply. When Nicaragua took the matter to the United Nations Security Council, the U.S. vetoed the resolution, and to date there has been no compliance. France, yet another veto-wielding UN Security Council member, also ignored the ICJ's order to cease nuclear tests in the South Pacific. The case had been brought to the ICJ by New Zealand. Other countries that have ignored the ICJ decisions are Argentina in its dispute over the Beagle Channel Islands, with Chile, Israel's rejection on advisory opinion in relation to construction of a wall in occupied Palestine, and Iceland in a case that has been brought before the ICJ by the United Kingdom over fishing rights. So we've seen ICJ issuing rulings there and them being ignored. Doctor, should this, whatever ruling the ICJ will come up with, should the ruling go against the wishes of what Somalia is expecting? How will Somalia respond to that? And whatever ruling will come out, if Kenya refuses to honor that, how will also impact on the ruling of the case there, and moving forward, what will be the implications of this?
In summary, I can tell you, Miriam, ICJ is a toothless dog that creates war. There's rulings or opinions are not binding. They don't have an army that will enforce. They can't issue a warrant of arrest. They can't block any nation from doing what it's supposed to do. They can't police any country. It's a toothless dog. Umbwa ile hakuna meno, useless, it's corrupt. ICC has a warrant of arrest. Countries can recognize. ICJ is useless dog. A dog that has no tooth. A malcontent institution that does not need to exist. You have a Somali judge, a lunatic with lots of properties in Qatar, paid by Qataris to influence the case on Kenya. You write to the Secretary General, to the registrar. The registrar must be wondering how I got all these details, including the rape case of that judge who is sitting there in Belgium. What I'm going to do this week is to dispute this tape viral. Yes, so that people can know who Yusuf Ahmed, yes, who he is. And the Somali lady is able to stand up to say, you did what happened. I followed this case to Belgium. I have evidence. This is a corrupt, stupid guy who should not have sat there. He has already written a judgment. William, he has written a judgment. What will they do? No army. How will you police Kenya? All what they are doing is to buy time while Turkey is importing more sophisticated planes in Indian Ocean. The people who are insulting us here, soon there will be the people, maybe some of the people like Badir Said Hassan will be on a canoe going to hijack a ship. Yes, some of them are hijackers. These are the people who benefited in the war. But anybody like us who want peace, we want Somalia to pull out this case, come back with Kenya under international African Union. They sit down and finalize this case. This question of saying who a ruling opinion, which opinion is not binding. You have read the cases there. The case of Nigeria and the Cameroon. Mm-hmm. You know that a triangle.
In 2002, yes.
Happened. Mm-hmm. Yes. It ended there. Cabinda in the south, DRC, Congo, and Angola. They are together today, seated, eating. They are enjoying the money of oil. They are each exchanging good money. For us in East Africa, Somalis have taken us to court because of foreign money.
Let me just read something and then you can continue. The case of Nigeria. Now, in 2002, the ICJ ruled in favor of Cameroon regarding its claims over the question of sovereignty over the Bakassi Peninsula, also claimed by Nigeria. However, the two countries tossed the decision aside and entered into fresh negotiations mediated by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Is that what is likely to happen? Somalia will come back to, because Kenya has been wanting an out of court. Is that even likely to happen? That is what happened in that case of Nigeria and Cameroon.
You can share this oil. All my Somali friends who are insulting me here, you are insulting me because you are not seeing the best of your face. The best is to go to a mirror and then start insulting me. Have you ever seen when you go to a mirror and insult somebody, you feel guilty? Try it today and insult somebody while you are looking at the mirror. You will run out of the room. You are insulting me when you have not seen what has happened to Libya. You are insulting me when you don't know what happened to Gaddafi. You are insulting me when these international agencies came to mutilate Africa. They are here again. There will be a war in the Indian Ocean. Even you who is living in Norway, in Denmark, you will be affected because your people will be at war. We are creating a war where there will be no passage in the Red Sea. You will not take any ship to the Red Sea. You will not take any ship to Indian Ocean enclave and pass to go to the east. You will not get goods. The oil will not move from the Arabian Sea to the Gulf to Indian Ocean. Those are the obstacles that we are trying to prevent for the future world. But if you are laughing and you laugh and you continue to insult me, it's okay. But I have even opened. And for my Somali friends, this platform is for you. Open up, talk to us. Our number is there. Come to the Zoom. I invited one of them to come to the Zoom. None of them is because some of them think, some of them they don't want their pictures to be seen on the Zoom. If you have real facts, come to the Zoom and discuss with us. We shall put this facts, Miriam, in place.
All right.
The things you have quoted are correct. We have a problem. They can't police it. Unless we go back to African Union constitutive management of boundaries.
But Kenya, African Union is the chairperson of the peace and what? Conflict committee there. That if this case be brought there, Kenya is the chair.
William, if they are saying
so Somalians will refuse. Yeah. Somalia.
If they are saying African Union is the chair, we can create, the UN can create an international. And another thing to do is this, as we finalize, it is a clear example, a clear indictment against the Secretary General of UN. These are your employees. You are now creating a war, then you will come back to call for a situation to calm down. So the more we talk about it, Miriam, the better for the world to hear. We are creating a war in Indian Ocean. Walai ya Mungu Maharai, you Somali men, we are creating a war. I'm addressing you, Mahara. Walai, you are creating a war. Don't create a war. We have lived together for millions of years, please. Don't create a war. Don't create a war that will kill us. And all of you, we need peace in the region. Return to the drawing board.
All right.
Return to the drawing board. So in summary, returning to the drawing board, let's go to the UN route. Miriam, I think our next engagement is UN route. What is it in for us? So tomorrow on another day, diplomatic leaks returns. What is in for Kenya at the United Nations Security Council under Article Chapter 7, Article 39. And those who want to learn like a Eunice, Morgan Yusuf, Morgan Eunice, Edris Watt, these people who just learned English yesterday. Just go and read now. Don't come here with empty heads. I am a very bad teacher. I want people with heads. Yes, who can think quickly. Go and read chapter 7, article 39 and 40 of the United Nations Charter. What does it say? If there is a threat to peace, we recall, we go there. And what all these judges are doing useless. We shall go there. You just make one ruling that this territory is for Somalia. You will see how many jet fighters will be in air. You will see. You will see. So we have to go there. Nyinyi mjaribu. Jaribu with your Qatar. You think there are no people who support Kenya? They will support them. So you want a war in the region. I am giving advice. Let's avoid the war. And Kenya is saying they don't want to be dragged in this thing. They want to talk. Let Farimajo talk. Why is he fearing to talk? Why is he going to Asmara at night? Why is he flying to Asmara to get people? They have killed the people in Tigray. They killed the people in Tigray. He took Somalis in Tigray to kill people. We are going to indict him on war crimes. He thinks we don't know. You think we don't know about you, Farimajo? Where? You know how many Somalis you transported to Tigray? How many you gave to Eritrea to take to Tigray? I am going to fix you, Farimajo. Paka to fix wewe. Ukuwe na indictment, American passport tutakuchika. That's why you have kept that American passport. Because no American can be indicted. You have forgotten you sent 3,000 troops to Tigray. 300 bodies were found in Tigray. What were you doing in Tigray, you, Farimajo? Farimajo! What were you doing in Tigray? Don't you see enough blood in Somalia? Haven't you killed so many? What were you doing in Tigray? You sent troops to kill people. You are under UN microscope. How did the Somalis end up in Tigray? That's another topic for another day. Because Ethiopia is under the microscope and Eritrea. Miriam, in my submission, I want to tell you, and of all these people listening, these stupid, are some people who insult instead of listening. I worked with Meles Zenawi. I worked with Isaiah Ifeke Isaiah. I worked with Dr. Tedros. I worked as a chairman of the Uganda Community Relief Association, 1987, 89, 90 in London. I've been in London as the chairman of the Uganda Relief Community Association with Dr. Damba, Wafula, and the rest of the people. Eudu, all of us were on the committee. The British government used to give us platform to make sure we organize for refugees. These Somalis who are just coming in town, they found me in London, most of them. I am the one who filled their passports. They didn't know English, and they should be told. All of them in Streatham, West Ham, all of them know my name. I've never told a lie, I've never hated any. But the only person I'm not happy with, Somalis are my friends. Most of them. Ask them. I am the one who rescued them, filled the forms for English. The English was very difficult to know. If you feel a wrong thing, they don't give you money. They tell you to go to school to learn, then you come and fill the form. In Streatham, in Croydon, I have helped these guys. I've helped them. And I stood by them. I never discriminated them. I protected some from Bazungu beating them up. But one of the things I've known, there is one man amongst the group that I've mentioned, Miriam, who was not a very good person. And we knew him. We were together. We used to know him. He never liked us to go to football. He never liked us to even have a meal. And then you take a glass of wine. That is Isaiah's. And what he has done to his country is the same as what he did to us in 1988, 89, 90, 91 in London. When he was heading Ethiopian Relief Organization, I was heading Uganda Relief Organization. Black organizations put together. So if people think we don't have the history, we have. We love people of Somalia. We want them to come for peace. We want them to pull out this case. If the ruling comes against any of the countries, there will be war. I am a peacemaker. I'm not a war calling for war. I stop war, and I've stopped war before, a bitter one, and because I'm a soldier by background. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. David Matsanga. Thank you, Javan Karanja. Thank you, our panelist today, Samuel Tawish. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Douglas Kirimi, as well as Musa Abdi Haji. This has been Diplomatic Leaks. I'll just conclude by reading one of the comments here from our viewers, Moyadin Dirie. I don't know if I've read your name correctly. If not, then pardon me. You say, no one wants a war. Kenya and Somalia are great neighbors and remain many more years to come. And I agree with you. And thank you so much, the rest of you, for your participation and for your comments and for watching. My name is Miriam Ogotu. I'll be back here at 3 p.m. East African time, and I'll be bringing you the latest from the African continent on Diaspora Dispatches. Bye-bye for now. The government of Kenya is keen on the development of social economic infrastructure to support the realization of the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030. The ambitious infrastructure projects are aimed at opening up the country for business and bolster productivity, particularly in the agricultural, manufacturing and the service industry, as this would bolster employment opportunities. Part of these critical infrastructure projects include the ongoing 27-kilometer expressway linking Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Nairobi's Westlands. Upon completion, the expressway will exponentially reduce travel times within Nairobi and thus help the country save man-hours, which is being lost in the traffic jams on a daily basis. The Lake Victoria Port Modernization Project to increase cargo handling capacity of the port and to increase Kenya's bilateral and multilateral trading within the region. The expansion of healthcare facilities to facilitate fruition of the country's universal healthcare coverage under the Big Four agenda. By speeding up movement of people and goods, the government is aiming to promote trade, reduction of travel times and costs.